Hey, everybody, it's the Carmel Social Media Real Estate and Housing Podcast. How are you, everyone? We're having a great time. We're joined here by my good friend, Shelly Walters. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you, Greg.
And who do you work for, Shelly?
I am with EXP Realty, Shelly Walters Realty Group.
And I'm with the Cooper Group at Compass Real Estate. And we have another friend with us in here today. And maybe he'd perhaps care to introduce himself.
Tony Cardenas with PRMG and Carmel Social Media.
I think everybody needs to know that the next show after this one is going to be really, really good. Now, this will be good. But the next one will be better because Shelly has suggested that the three of us need to go out for adult beverages.
Oh, God.
And when Tony and I go for adult chocolate milk, you just don't know how good it's going to get. So
we're back on the
next time.
So we're back on the chocolate milks?
We're back on the adult chocolate milk. And when the next time we have one of these, pay extra close attention because it's going to be really good. So this will be fun. That one will be great.
Okay. Let's talk about the real estate, you guys. What's going on in Carmel? Tell us what the activity's happening.
Shelly, go ahead.
I know.
She is the bones of this. She has the stats, the data. She's the queen of data. I can shut up and let you give it to us.
I am because you guys ask me, and I'm not a data person, but this data is not really good.
Well, let's go over Carmel first. What are the stats?
So past 7 days, only 11 active listings have hit the market again.
In a week. In 1
week we've had 11 new ones. And they're between 285,000 and 850,000. So not, an unusual range for Carmel. And then we have 152 pending. We keep saying these high numbers pending. A lot of them are just hanging on from new builds.
There's a lot of long-term pendings.
Yes.
And by the way, having that many pendings at one time, I mean, I'm sure that the folks listening to us think, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, it doesn't sound right at all, right?
There's a lot. That's 152 homes under contract. That means the pendings are under contract waiting to close. That's a lot. And you and I have done this over years, and that's a lot.
But if you have 11 active, let's just say for a week, that's 44 in a month and 152. Those numbers don't correlate, and that is because they're all showing, even if they're not even out of the ground
right,
yet.
I got you that.
Right.
But let's talk about Westfield. What's Westfield doing?
They have 9 active in the past 7 days, so not a lot better. Between 274,000 and 1.6 million, they have 180 pending as well.
So. Here's the thing people need to remember that they had 11 new homes come on the market in Carmel, 9 in Westfield. Half those aren't even active anymore.
Oh, at least.
The good ones are gone. You've got to be on them the day those things come on the market right now. And frankly, we're also seeing new construction that will get listed in the multiple lists, and it gets sold in a day or two. So
exactly.
It's just going so quickly. That's why we have these high numbers of homes that are under contract. We're calling them pending. So everybody knows we're on the same page. We're calling them pending, waiting to close. That's why we have so many of those, because they're literally, the good ones are selling immediately right now.
Well, and that also gets back to what we've been talking about is if you're really wanting to buy a home, new build's probably the best way for you to go if you want the least amount of stress.
You know what? I kind of agree. I mean, I've always loved new construction. There's no doubt about that. But there's effort involved as a consumer in building a new home. You have to make your choices. You have to watch the process. You have to ask questions. And you have to make sure that you have great advocates in your building partners. So it's not time-free to build a new home.
Not at all.
There's effort.
Well, you got Magnolia over here by the Old Town Design Group, right across the street from Matt the Millers. Those are starting in the upper 800s, Greg?
They are. Now, that's right by where Pizza Hut is in the strip center there, just so everybody has the same frame of reference. Does anybody know, by the way, we know that the hardware store and the little strip center there at 126th and City Center and Range Line, 126th Street to us old timers. We know that center with the strip center and the hardware store are going to go away. Does anybody know? I mean, we may not. Does either of you two know when that's going to happen? Is it this summer that's supposed to happen, or is it further out than that?
I think we're a little further out on that, but we'll get an update on that next week. Okay?
Next week, as when we're having a lot more fun than we are today. We'll have that update for you.
Right, but not only that, you have Magnolia that's in the upper 800s, and you got Onyx East, which is right here behind the spaghetti factory.
It's not just Onyx East; it's the melange.
I didn't say that.
It's a French word. I don't know. I mean, I really have to roll my tongue.
What's the prices on those, Greg?
I mean.
Don't they change constantly?
I've seen a list of what they've sold, and what they've sold has been 700 and up. And I know there are at least probably most of a dozen of those that are under contract, and none of them are finished, which means that product is incredibly attractive to a lot of people. And those things literally sit on the Monon. And just as a frame of reference, they're kind of behind the spaghetti factory and back there by the police station on the Monon. So that's where they sit. And I think a year from now, those are all going to be done, and they're all going to be sold.
And you know what's funny is I talk to people that come to downtown Carmel for the first time in like a year, and they're like, "Oh my
What is
gosh,
this?
what is going on? I couldn't find this or that." I mean, it changes daily
It
around
does.
here.
And I got to tell you, and this is a tiny bit off the housing subject, but if you go behind the Spaghetti Factory, it's kind of by Veterans Way parking garage over there. There's a new parking garage going up behind the Spaghetti Factory, and that thing is coming out of the ground like fire. It is.
Oh, yeah,
It's going to be done in the summer. It's incredible. I mean, Henry Mostesky was telling us how fast that thing was going to go. He's not kidding. That thing is hauling right now, and we're going to have a lot more parking opportunities that will be shared. The police station needs some more. The residences need some more. I mean, the Veterans Way parking garage gets an awful lot of work right now. So there's going to be an awful lot of new places that you can at least park. And the thing that's great about Carmel is that it's free.
Hey,
You're not putting money in the meter every time.
right. But a couple more projects that are going on in Carmel right now, and we're going to go through 4 today. You got the Monon Crossing by Lennar, which is around 116th in Pennsylvania, off of over that area, and then you got the courtyards of Carmel that are building up of 136.
Keystone. Well,
Okay.
if we want to call it Smoky Row now,
Is that what they're going to
and
call
spell
it?
it correctly, SMOKY.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, so it's no longer 136th Street. Just like all the other downtown streets are getting new names. If you've driven.
And I love, I mean, we don't have time to go into it all
No,
here,
we
but
don't.
I love some of the history of some of the numbered streets changing to specific names that have historical reference in Carmel. And so if you get a chance, you can Google that, but it's really cool.
It was
what
in the
they're doing.
Current last week.
It was.
And actually my son, it was so funny because he lives on one of the streets and he goes, "My sign just went down and came back up and it's this now." And I sent him a screenshot of the history of that name. And I
It's
do
cool.
agree that it's
It's-
very
it's very-
fun to
it's
find
cool.
out
Yeah.
where we're coming up
Some
with these
great
names.
history.
Well, here's something Shelly and I talked about, which I cannot believe. So I made a phone call for a friend of mine that was thinking about maybe buying a house up in Westfield. So I called this lady at Lennar. You know, projects up here that are like $350,000. You do not get to go pick your lot.
Here's
Pick
what
your
you
house.
get. Here's to give us the money.
That's exactly right. And when Shelly and I talked about this, I just cannot believe you don't get that choice right now.
because the demand is too high.
And that's their program though. That's what they do.
And let's remember, and you're right. I mean, if you're a consumer, you're kind of scratching your head a little bit, but let's remember the demand is incredibly high. There's an efficiency to a builder building out a neighborhood in a specific pattern.
Right.
So they're trying to do this quickly so that the residences there don't have mud all over their feet for years.
Nails
and years
in
and
their
years.
cars.
And complain, and they complain about it, and understandably so, because it's loud. They want to do it fast, and they want to be able to get everybody in as soon as possible. So the fastest way for them to do that is to say, "Here's the next available lot. Do you like it? Do you not?" It's as simple as that.
Well, and then also, like he was saying, on the inside, there are no choices.
No.
Because they can just put them up much faster, but they're great choices. But you do get to see. And I was telling him, he's like, "I don't know that I could do that." And I'm like, "I want to do that all day long." Because the
Right.
last thing I want to do is go into a center,
they
design
can't get-
center and
yeah.
pick it all out, which
No.
I love to do when I flip. I love to do that. But when the house gets done and I never got to see it and it comes up with mismatch that doesn't make sense, I much prefer walking in and seeing it. Oh, that's what it's going to look like. Perfect. Do that
And
over
besides,
there.
when it comes to me, it's squirrel. So if you
Yes,
give me seven
yes,
choices,
no.
you might be there all night for me to decide whether it's the shadow gray or the coal gray. I mean, I'm never
But
going
then
to
what happens if you were like me? If I walk in and I go, "Oh, I don't like it," it was my fault.
Well,
I chose it all.
you can be able to see the colors.
Well, I'm just
Oh, you're
saying
talking
putting
about
it
if you have-
all
yeah,
right, I got you.
together.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
said he probably wouldn't be able to
I
do
would,
that.
well, not
I
me,
think
but
it's
my
just-
friend,
It has a niche for certain people,
Right.
and I would be one of those.
Right.
And I do love that they do that, but other companies don't. So you have your choices.
well, let me ask you this. I mean, from what you guys are seeing, the interest rates go up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the board right now. I don't sell the rates, but I'm looking at the board right now. And they're anywhere from 3.75% up to 3.999 today, live right now. Okay.
As we're recording this.
As we're recording this. Okay. And of course, they can change by the end of the day.
Yep.
But the bottom line is, now that would be on a 30-year fixed.
That's
so you'd
still
have-
really good money.
Yeah, you'd have to get a hold of one of our loan officers at PRMG on this. But here's the thing. Are you starting to see anything that's actually affecting you right now here in Carmel because of what the interest rates are doing in the last 60 days?
So not yet, but here's the thing that concerns me. We have a lot of people who are under contract on new construction. New construction is a long process right now. It's understandable, supply chain, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people are under long-term contracts who have not been able to lock those loan rates in. And I'm really wondering when we get to the summer, what in the world is going to look like when, we get to that point and those rates are a little bit higher because they're going to keep edging up. They have to. The Federal Reserve has already announced we're going to raise. That
Right.
will affect long-term mortgage rates And it may affect some people who are building new homes right now who are not going to be in for a few months.
Okay, so let's wrap up this show today. What are the question to you first, Shelly? What's the number one thing a buyer needs to do today if they're thinking about buying a home in the Carmel, Hamilton County area? What's the first thing they need to do?
Well, when we get those phone calls, my answer is always, have you talked to a lender? Because if they're going to ask me to go out and help them find a home, a lot of times they'll say, I want to look at a house at this price point. But I don't think they understand what all of that means to come together. And I always tell them, I said, but you need to be comfortable with what you're going to end up being able to pay. What they tell you may not be what you're comfortable with. And we can't start looking at houses unless we know what you're going to be able to pay for that
Jump
house.
in there, Greg.
So I want to piggyback on that.
Okay.
If you're pre-qualified, which is Shelly's first step and it's the correct one, you absolutely have to know what you can afford. You have to have confidence that you have somebody who will loan you that money. Here's the second thing. As you begin the process of actually making an offer, you absolutely must know what the person who owns that home, whether they're represented, however it is, you must know, what is your idea of a perfect offer, Mr. Seller? If you don't, you're wasting your time because you're going to get multiple competing offers. You may not even know why you didn't get it. But if you don't know what their wish list is, you're not going to win. And it's that simple. So I don't care if you got to camp on somebody's doorstep or your broker does, but you better know.
Well, and that comes to your agent better know. Because
yes,
I have had an offer in the past month where we made an offer and I called and I asked, and I said, do you have any offers? And he goes, yes. And he said, we have multiple offers and I don't know what my seller wants to do now. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we have multiple offers. We haven't talked about that yet. And I go, that would have been the first conversation I would have had. I mean, that's just crazy.
And so what that tells you, and I know you probably relay this to your buyers, what that tells you is this is a confusing set of circumstances on the other end, and they're not sure what they want. It's going to be very tough to get this house bought.
Oh, and they weren't educated through the process already. So, and then I had another conversation today with one of my agents who we got a phone call. They said they're interested in purchasing a home and Fisher's around $250,000. They didn't really have a down payment and this stuff. My agent told them they needed to go get a pre-approval letter and we were going to give them some names. And she said they called her back this afternoon and said, it's okay. We found it for sale by owner. We're under contract with them. And I thought,
but their odds of them getting that closed are so
it's
small.
Not going to happen at all.
No,
so people just think that there's this willy-nilly way of selling houses today. It's not.
We know we're realtors and we understand that you guys got to take that with a grain of salt as the listener of this podcast. But we're telling you, Shelly and I have decades of experience. We're telling you this is one of the toughest times to buy a home ever. If you don't have the right advocacy, you're not getting it done.
And selling.
Yeah.
You can leave a lot of money on the table.
So we're going to do another podcast very soon, gang. You know that? We might come back and do this again after we've had adult beverages. So we're going to be so much fun. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, we will be.
Because Tony and I like to have adult chocolate milk and Shelly will referee.
Perfect. Absolutely. And take us out, Greg.
Okay. So the deal is, guys, we have a great sponsor and a great advocate for our podcast. It's PRMG Mortgage. PRMG Mortgage in Carmel. And you want to give Greg Evans a call at 317-590-6546. Thank you all so much for joining us. Shelly, where can we find you?
You guys can call me at my cell phone, 317-201-2601 anytime.
And you can reach me, Greg Cooper, at Compass Real Estate at Cooper Group, Compass.com online. And we'll see you all again real soon.
All right. You guys have a great day and a great week.